Hey everybody, emergency breaking news edition of Off the Top Rope here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. The story that we have been following for the last 3 months since she disappeared from AEW, the mystery has been solved. And for those schmucks and sickos in AEW that were hoping and praying that Mariah May was going to show up at Double or Nothing, it didn't happen. And here we are on the June 3rd edition of NXT. Mariah May is officially a part of the WWE roster. Interestingly enough, they did the same thing that they did with Ricky Saints. Say almost the same exact thing, although they threw a bunch of women out there to, frame the women's division around JC Jane. Guys, this is not going to be very long before Mariah May is the women's champion. I'm sorry if you're a longtime JC Jane fan. This is not going to take long. I found it interesting that Jordynne Grace is still there. That could actually be really interesting if Jordynne Grace is going to stick around. But Mariah May is going to be the women's champion in short order. We guys, we know how this goes. Like this is and in one night, WWE managed to make her feel like a big deal. And that's what you want. And I'll give AEW credit in this respect. Mariah May 2 years ago wouldn't have gotten this nearly a big of reaction. So I will give them credit for elevating Mariah and putting her in a platform. That being said, they could have done way better with what they were given. And the fact that, basically she was unceremoniously tossed aside. Guys, she basically had one program in her entire career in AEW. It was all around. Like, she had the Mae Young Classic, but one actual feud. Like, think about that. She had one real, actual, prominent feud. Like, listen, any of these other things that she did with the Women's Championship, Willow Nightingale was there. Like, the Mina Shirakawa thing, I guess you could say qualified, but that was carrying over. There was not one piece of original material that they actually tackled really in an actual feud with her. Again, like I said, one of the main reasons why she left is because of booking. And in one simple promo, they turn out the lights, they give her the whole rollout, and they give her the last word in the most loaded women's division in WWE. They had to empty out 4 of their big guns to go, or at least 3 of them. Jordynne Grace is probably going to follow. And it's very clear as day that she's going to run the NXT women's division in very short order. And I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit upset. And I know some of the sickos in AEW are going to go, ha ha, she went to NXT and she's not on the main roster. It's like, okay. First and foremost, it is not a death sentence, especially for a woman to go to NXT. Secondly, if Mariah May goes to the main roster right away, it's way too crowded right now. I understand that evolution is happening. But I'll tell you this, man, I did not see this happening before Evolution. I honestly thought they were going to hang on to her and it was going to stretch into the summer and we were going to have to wait maybe till post SummerSlam after they do their summer, whatever NXT premium live event it was, but they're doing this quickly. I would fully expect Mariah May by Evolution to be the NXT Women's Champion. I would fully expect that to be something. I don't know how we're going to get there. I don't know if she's going to be framed as a babyface. I don't know if she's going to be framed as a heel. I don't know what this is going to be. Hell, I don't even know what her name is going to be. If they're going to actually keep her as Mariah May or they're going to give her another name because they didn't announce that. And that's going to become a thing on the internet too. So all you idiots could just act like and just be fucking marks about that. But the one thing that we can definitively say is that this is another example of okay, great. It just shows you WWE is the place to be, especially if you're a woman. Especially if you're a woman. Because think about this for a second. Mariah May could have very easily taken a paycheck, taken the money, and gone back to AEW and potentially been framed as one of the cornerstone women of that division. Think about that. She could have very easily, considering the build that she got, the fact that she's one of the very few in that company that has pinned Toni Storm and won the women's championship. She did it on their biggest stage in one of the best women's matches and one of the best women's feud that company has ever done. She signed up for 2 years, and whether this was always the plan for her or she made the decision at the end, I think it was a little bit of both. I think she went in there with an open mind because she was known in Stardom. A lot of people knew who she was, but they hadn't really seen a lot from her. So to get the mainstream contract, like I knew who Mariah May was. I hadn't seen a lot of her wrestling, a lot of her wrestling because we don't exactly have Stardom like on command here in the States. So unless you're like actively like really into like Japanese pro wrestling, you're probably not going to be in tune with what's going on with Stardom. So when she got to AEW, it was like, okay, it was an opportunity for her. She was a relative unknown. She had been through, I think, the WWE Performance Center at one point as a trainee, much like Stephanie Vicaire. But she got the contract there, and she parlayed that into a decent run. That being said, I still think that there was a huge missed opportunity here for AEW to keep her around, potentially like much like MJF, give her a reason to stay, but you book this division into oblivion to the point where it's just Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné, and Mariah May's left looking around, and here we are. Guys, this woman won the Women's World Championship less than a year ago, was holding it at the start of this year, and she is now in NXT. Like, think about how preposterous that sounds. Like, to me, just to allow something like that to happen is a complete failure on Tony Khan's part. Why would you even entertain this as a possibility? You get a short-term gain, but now WWE is going to reap the rewards of everything that you built, which, yes, you didn't book her very well, but WWE clearly saw something. And yes, even if the end game was there, you're able to give her some television time. But now, guys, look at the optics of that. Just look, and I didn't even really have to put two and two together until this actually happened. And like I said, I did not think that this was going to happen in June. I thought that they were going to wait this out. So I'll give Tony Khan at least some credit there that he let her out of her contract early. He kind of knew that this was the end. But you could have given her more reason to stay rather than just have her sit around for 3 months. Really? Like, this is one of the very few women in the history of AEW that have held the Women's World Championship. One of the very few women in this company. And she held it at the start of 2025. 5 months later, she is in another company. Like, that is crazy. And this is the second time that it's happened where somebody seemingly under contract, but Ricky Starks, was not seen on television in 2025 until he made his appearance on NXT. Mariah May was literally at the pay-per-view 3 months ago. And now she's on another company. Like, you could just pop up anywhere at this point. Like, 2025 pro wrestling is wild. I understand a lot of people are still mad about R-Truth and all this other stuff that's been going on, the TKO stuff. But again, this is insane to even actually see this transpire on television. And we don't know what her name is, but I can tell you definitively that my bold prediction is by evolution, she's going to be the NXT Women's Champion. Like, this is not, it's only going to be a matter of time before it happens. Like, JC Jane is a transitional champion. This is a placeholder thing. And you know what? There's a lot of things on the table. She could effectively, take over Fatal Influence. She could effectively take over Fatal Influence and knock JC Jane off the pedestal. You could do that. You could have her be a babyface. You could have her be a heel. You could have her feud with Jordan Grace. There's still Jada Parker. Like, I didn't even realize this until they started trotting out all these women before they brought in Mariah May at the end, which tells you they really think highly of her because you know what they say? They save the best for last. But you brought out Lash Legend, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, this newcomer, Lainey Reed, who's been killing it in Evolve and, the NXT Level Up. Like, there's just so many people. Tyra May Steele, who's the Olympian from the good the female Olympian, not Gable Steveson, who has a whole bunch of issues on him and got cut from WWE. So, but she won LFG, the WWE reality show that they were doing with the Undertaker and all those people over there on A&E. Bully Ray was a part of it as well. Booker T, Mickey James. So there's just a lot going on in NXT. But for Mariah May to be at the end of that, she got positioned as a star. And again, just, putting 2 and 2 together, man, it's just a bad look. No matter how you want to look at it, and just like saying, yeah, she was booked as a champion. She got the best women's feud in AEW history. And, she was at All In her home country, and she won a championship there. But at the start of this calendar year, she was the women's champion. She's now on another show. Like, that doesn't happen. That just does not happen. That is not normal. And for AEW to allow that to happen is just it's mind-blowing to me. That just how you don't, and maybe there was no number that was going to keep Mariah May. But then again, that being said, don't put yourself in that position to make yourself look like a fool. I get it. You wanted to sign her, but if you knew the end game was that she was not going to be there, at least keep her there for longer than you did. But hey, at least they maximized at least some of what they are able to do. But again, you could have booked a better title run. But maybe that was because they knew that she wasn't going to stay. So just a wild situation transpiring in real time. It's just like I said, modern wrestling is just wild. You just don't see things like this where people are crossing over from different companies. For God's sake, I don't even know who's going to show up on Wednesday. It's crazy. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.